Have you ever seen miles and miles of undeveloped beaches? It does exist here in America, and it might be closer than you think.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with Wanderlust.
You're listening to Season 4 of the Travel FOMO podcast. This is Jamin and Hilarie, and I'm here with my co-host and wife, Hilarie.
Hello.
And we've been sharing some of our stories from the best beaches that we've been to. And today, we're going to our most recent beach trip, Pensacola Beach.
That's right. We're kind of wrapping up the season too. This is it.
Yeah, this is the last one.
Yeah. We loved Pensacola Beach for a lot of reasons, and it felt pretty different than some of the other Florida beaches that we'd been to for a number of reasons. But and we also, this is one of the first trips that we're talking about on the podcast where we actually brought our dog with us.
Yeah, this is the first one. I think we did talk about Marfa, and Maggie was with us for Marfa.
Oh, right.
But aside from that, this is one of the very first ones that
we get
on the podcast where we get to talk about Maggie.
That's right. Yeah, Maggie's our black goldendoodle. She's 5 years old, and we call her name's Magnolia, but we call her Maggie Moodle the Goldendoodle.
The rug,
Moodle, depending on how she's been groomed recently, how furry she might be. She's a better rug or a worse rug.
Yeah, and depending on how she's been acting and whether or not it's like an affectionate, loving pet name or I'm thinking about selling you pet name. But yeah, it was a great trip. We road tripped from Dallas, and which is not a bad drive, very doable. And we got to take Maggie with us because it was a road trip. It made it really easy, and we booked an Airbnb that was dog friendly, so we knew we could take her for the whole thing, which meant we didn't have to board her, didn't have to get a pet sitter, and we got to have her with us, which is fun.
Yeah, we do enjoy taking her with us, and another beach condo for us, which was fun.
Yeah, beach condo was great, and Pensacola was pretty dog friendly.
Yes,
we took her with us. Actually, into a couple of restaurants had outdoor seating where you could have your dogs. There were some dog beaches that we took her to. We took her with us when we rented a boat, and so a lot of things Maggie actually got to do with us, not just chill in the condo, but kind of all of it. She was along for the ride.
So it was a pretty interesting time when we arrived in Pensacola Beach because it was April 2021. There had been Hurricane Sally had come through, I believe in the fall of 2020, and there was a lot of damage from Hurricane Sally. And so it had actually, huge barges that were in the ocean, they had just slammed through the Bay Bridge there,
right?
That connects Pensacola to Pensacola Beach. And it made for a little longer of a road trip for us, which wasn't, that big of a deal, especially when you arrive and you realize how much their lives have been changed by the bridge shutting down. You're like, oh, the fact that I had to drive another hour really isn't a big deal.
For us, it added an hour to our road trip because we had to take 281, a bridge further into Florida and down. You're like, that's kind of inconvenient for us. But when you think about all the people who live in Pensacola but may have jobs in Pensacola Beach, wait staff for restaurants and people that work in shops, things like that. It's a huge inconvenience, and meant for a lot of those people that jobs were less sustainable economically. If you think about if you're waiting tables or you're a bartender or something like that, and now you have to spend an extra hour and the extra gas each way to go that far for a shift, that suddenly makes it not very appealing, and maybe you should find a different job. And so a lot of places were having trouble keeping staff just for that reason of like it's really hard to get there without that bridge.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely had a big impact on their economy, and also it did make it less appealing for tourists. We kind of felt that from people, and then the fact that there was COVID-19, that didn't help either.
Right, COVID and the condo that we stayed in was at a spot across the street from the beach. And on either side of it was resorts that had gotten, I think, were a little dated, and then the hurricane came through and sustained damage. And so both of those resorts, I think one was a Holiday Inn and one was like a Margaritaville, had decided to do massive renovations and were shut down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, we kind of lucked out on that, quite frankly, because it meant that a big portion of the beach
right
in front of our condo, there wasn't anybody staying in those resorts. So we kind of had the beach to ourselves. Like, it was just people from our condo going down to this beach.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It worked out great for us because, like you said, there's all those families and people that ordinarily would be in those resorts and filling out that beach, like, was completely empty.
Yeah.
And so it was just us. But we had a great condo. I think we were up on like the 11th floor with a huge balcony that overlooked the ocean, and the weather was great when we were there. So a lot of times at night, it was a perfect temperature where we weren't running the AC, so we could have the doors and windows open and just listen to the ocean.
Yeah.
Every night when we went to sleep.
Yeah, that long balcony we had too, it like extended, and windows and everything kind of extended from the living room to the master bedroom. And so we really kind of got to, like, there was just, you could enter the balcony from a bunch of different places, and no matter where you were, you could kind of see the ocean. It was nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the condos that we have stayed in, the end of the condo has been what accesses the beach, right? So it's there's kind of the bedrooms in the front, and then you work your way to the back, and then at the back is the living room.
Oh, good point.
And then the balconies off of that. But this one was kind of turned where sideways, so alongside the living room and alongside the bedroom was the balcony, and so it was long ways with a really long balcony, which was awesome. Like, it was great. Every room basically had ocean view.
Yeah. We loved the beach there too. Tell everyone about the beach.
Oh, the beaches were great. Like, the sand was super soft and white. It was actually squeaky.
It was, and people had said it would be, and I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, I didn't understand either, like, what's that mean, squeaky sand? But when you walk on it, it actually squeaks. Like, it makes a little squeaky sound as you walk across it. And if you think about like a pair of like wet flip-flops or something like that you might walk in and it like squeaks when you walk across the floor, it was basically that same sound and feeling, only just barefoot on the sand, just like little squeaks as you walk along, but super soft.
Yeah.
Great beaches.
Great beaches. And the thing that really blew me away is how there's just miles and miles and miles of undeveloped land on this long island. Pensacola Beach is basically an island. And you've got beach on the bay side, you've got beach on the ocean side, and it's just tons and tons of beaches where you can just drive up. Like, you just, if you want some privacy, you just go find it. Like, there are tons of beaches where you can just find a place where no one is. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and on the great thing about it too is on either side of Pensacola there is protected land, like National Park Service land on either side, and so a lot of those beaches are national park land that is protected and so undeveloped. So there's not houses on it, there's not big condos on it, there's not restaurants on it and all that stuff. It's just pristine beach that you can go hang out on and chill. And because of it, like, everybody spreads out so much, there's just a ton of it.
Yeah, that was really one of the most appealing things to me. And like you said, it was really dog friendly. So there was at least 2 dog beaches that we had access to.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a lot of fun. I will say you can't take your dog off the leash. And so that was something that was like, oh, okay, like Maggie does better if you just kind of let her go. She feels a little bit better being around other dogs. And so that was like maybe not the best thing, especially like how do you let your dog enjoy the water if they're attached to a leash and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was a little unexpected and a little difficult, but it's still a great experience, still a lot of fun.
It was April too, so on that note, it was chilly. The water was chilly, so we weren't necessarily getting in the water a lot. So
right, you would walk along, put your feet in the water, but you definitely didn't want to like get in and swim, which was different too. The only time I've done a beach vacation where we didn't actually swim. But I really sort of enjoyed the weather aspect of it because it was warm enough to sit on the beach and sit in the sun, but it was also not so hot that you felt like you had to get in the water.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, like I sunburn easily. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, we need shade. We need to bring shade and things like that. But this trip, just some sunscreen and you're able to sit out on the beach for however long you wanted and be really comfortable the whole time.
Yeah, it was really nice. I'd never done a cooler beach vacation either. So that was like, it was like a little different.
Yeah.
But there was one thing I thought was also really interesting and kind of the pride of Pensacola is their Pensacola Naval Air Station that was nearby. And the really kind of cool part of that is, and everybody will tell you this, but when it happens, you're like, oh, this is really cool. The Blue Angels, the jets, they fighter jets, right? Mm-hmm. They practice in the area, and so ever so often they'll perform for you. At least that's what it felt like. It felt like they were doing it all for everyone on the island. But I'll never forget us being in the condo up on like the 11th or 12th floor, all these windows looking out over the ocean. It was a beautiful sunny day. And all of a sudden we hear this noise, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see something massive just went across the window. And I was just like, and it was loud, and I was like, what was that? I'm telling you, it felt like they were like right there and literally at eye level. And it was really crazy to see them come through and more exciting than I'd imagined because, I've seen them and it was neat. But like when you see them in your face, it's really cool.
Yeah. And not only like the Blue Angels, but several planes and different military aircraft like went by, helicopters and things like that, would randomly fly by at pretty low altitude, like you're saying, kind of eye level with where we were, and just off or over the beach. And I thought it was really cool and really neat. I had seen reviews online where people were like disgruntled by it, but
I could see that. Yeah.
But I didn't really feel that way at all. I thought it was really cool. It was never so much that it was annoying and never at like bad times.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really cool part of being there, and I really liked it.
I mean, what would you say? It happened for 10 seconds at a time, maybe like 3 times while we were there? 5 times?
Yeah, probably
Not
something
much.
like that. Not much, just enough that you would like see him around and it would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see a patriotic holiday being really cool there. So like 4th of July or something.
Yeah.
I hear that they put on some pretty good shows.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Like it's a great place for that. Is there something you know about that revolutionizes the way you travel? Can it solve problems and help people around the roadblocks on their adventures? Is it just plain cool? If you have a product like that, we'd love to tell people about it. Get in contact with us, and maybe next time we'll be talking about your product right now. We went into the national park on a couple of occasions. Once we went actually in, like, Fort Pickens is part of the national park there, and you can
And
go
tell people
tour the
what
fort.
national park you're talking about, just so they could look it up
Yeah,
if they wanted to.
it's Gulf Islands National Seashore.
Okay.
And that's the protected land, and so it's on either side of Pensacola. To the west of Pensacola is where Fort Pickens is, and that's where the real, like, bulk of the national park and the stuff that you would think of, visitor center, and there's camping there. Like, we actually kind of drove through the camping just to kind of scope it out and see what it's like. We want to go back and actually camp there sometime. Looked really cool.
Because again, you've got access to all these beaches.
Yeah, beach, like bayside beach access, oceanside beach access.
One thing that was interesting that I just remembered is how the road that takes you into the national park, and it's not really on the list of national parks so much either, right? Like, it's kind of like a subcategory.
Right,
or it's like
it's run by the National Park Service, but I don't think it's technically a national park.
Okay. But it's got this road that comes in, and you've got like mounds of beach sand on either side of you. Sometimes it's covering the road. Sometimes you can't get through because there's no access because the wind or the storms have brought in so much sand that you can't even drive on the road.
Yeah.
So like seeing people come through with their RVs was like, oh, I can see that being tricky. Like, wow,
yeah.
okay, gosh. And then what if it rained? Like, then you've got wet sand you're driving through. So
Yeah, that's true.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, but it was really cool. Touring the fort was a lot of fun. And then another way that we saw the National Seashore was by boat. There in Pensacola Beach, rented a pontoon boat through HO2 Pensacola. They were super great.
Yeah.
A guy named Steve helped us out, so thanks Steve. And we had rented a boat before in Destin, and we talk about that. We went out to Crab Island, so if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and catch it. But this was the first time that we rented a boat, just the two of us. And they made it really simple for us, really easy. And we went out into the bay and actually across to Fort McGee. There's a little beach by that abandoned fort, and we docked the boat there, and it's part of this national seashore, this protected area, and we literally had a private beach, just you, me, and Maggie, and we were there a couple of hours, and we didn't really see anybody except some birds and a couple dolphins.
Yeah, and even the people that we did see, they were so tiny, you couldn't even really hear their voices. You could just see that, oh, somewhere down there is a person.
Yeah,
which was kind of crazy.
Somebody's way over there off. But that was really cool because we did get to let Maggie off the leash, and she could run around.
She saw dolphins jumping around. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And they got so close. Because the water was pretty deep in the Bay Area right there.
Yes, yeah. It was on the bay side of things, and so the water was really deep, and we had the pontoon boat docked right there at the shore, and dolphins came. They were probably 4 or 5 feet off the shore.
That was really crazy to me.
Yeah, they were.
We literally
right
just
there.
sat there and stared and tried to be really quiet so they would keep jumping around.
Yeah, they would jump up out of the water and you would see them. It was really cool. We actually saw a lot of dolphins our time there.
Yeah, and
I
all of
remember
Pensacola.
sitting on the balcony a few mornings and seeing dolphins, and walking along the beach. We went for several walks on the beach and saw dolphins. There was a lot around, but that was a cool part of it. And so much fun to take Maggie out there. And
do you remember when she ran into the water?
Yeah, she just got so excited. And our first dog that we had years and years ago was Max, and he was a lab. And anytime there's any kind of water, he was going to be in it.
He loved it.
But Maggie is the opposite.
Yeah.
of Max in almost every way, and not excluding her affinity for water. She doesn't like to get in water. We had a house with a pool for a while, and she did not like to go swim in the pool, so she doesn't like to get in water. But that particular day, we're on the beach, and we had a ball with her. We were throwing the tennis ball, and she was running along the beach, and she just gets so excited that she just runs and just jumps into
Just
the
went
ocean.
straight into the water. And I don't think she was banking on it being so deep,
Yeah,
because she went in deep right
I
away.
think it got a lot deeper than she had anticipated.
Yeah, and she came back out real fast. But she loved being able to just roam however far she wanted to on the beach. And it really blew my mind that we could find such desolate, I don't even know the word to describe it. It was just like such pristine beaches that nobody was there. It was crazy.
Yeah, we just had it all to ourselves, and Maggie loved it. Maggie loved being on the boat. She really enjoyed being on the. I wondered how she would be on the pontoon, because she's kind of scared of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so I wondered how she would be on the boat, but she really liked it. She just kind of laid down and chilled on the boat. Like, she thought it was great.
Yeah, the hardest part was getting her on and off the boat, because being on the dock and then trying to get onto the boat, like, we had to, like, literally pick her up and hold her.
Yeah, we had to
and put her
pass
on
her
and off.
person to person.
Yeah.
But once she was on the boat, she was good.
Yeah, she was good. That was so fun. We also they had just launched some people had just launched this new business in Pensacola Beach called Glow Paddle.
Yeah.
And that was fun, because it was like going kayaking, and we'd already known, like, we're going to go kayaking. That'll be fun. But this was like a new spin on it that I had never seen, which was you're in these clear glass kayaks, which that part's not new, but the new part was that, like, they lit them up with neon lights on the inside, and you would go out at night.
Yes.
Very cool concept. The idea of, like, you know, and they would give you glow bracelets and all kinds of stuff and have music playing and stuff, and really cool, the whole concept of it, until maybe you're out there in the dark.
Yeah,
on
like
the ocean
it seemed,
with black water under you.
It seemed like such a good idea, and when we saw it, we were like, "Oh, we got to do it!" And we were there like the first weekend that they opened, so they hadn't done much of it. But you get out there, and so you're in like a big bay, but you're on the ocean.
Yeah.
And you're kayaking, which is fun. That's great, and they kind of just let you go. But you have these LED lights under your boat, and they kind of light up the boat, and it's a clear plastic kayak, so it's see-through. They kind of light up the boat, but they really don't light up much of the water under you. So you can see other people out, like, kayaking around, but when you kind of get off by yourself, you're really just kind of in the dark on the ocean, thinking about every, like, shark movie that you've ever watched.
Seen.
And like, that was a little creepy. I honestly was.
You were done 10 minutes
Yeah.
in, and you're like, okay, we're good. Like, we could go back now.
Yeah, I was like, okay, how long
Are we gonna do this?
how long are we gonna sit here in the
Well,
dark? Like,
it was kind of fun in the bay too, because you could see all the beach homes, and they're all lit up at night, and
Yeah,
you can
that was
see,
fun.
you can kind of creep on people, which, if you've been listening long, you know that we do some people watching, which is like, now when I say it like this, it sounds super creepy, watching people in their homes, but you couldn't get that close. You're far enough away,
Yeah.
you could just kind of see these cool homes and kind of, do a home tour. But that was neat. It just maybe needed a little more life on the water at night. Like, you had some
Yeah.
ideas, and I was like, oh, yeah, if they did that, that would be really cool.
well, I felt like, because they kind of took the approach, and they might be doing this now because it was like really early on, of just like normal kayak rental, where it's like, hey, here's your kayak, go have fun. And we actually went back, the thing that we booked was for one, like, day session and one night session. And we went back in the day and paddled around, and there's a sandbar in the middle of the bay, so that was fun. But you kind of, like, that's what you do. You go out and you kayak kind of on your own and then come back. Well, in the dark, like, kind of like we said, once you're out there for a couple of minutes, it's kind of like, well, now what?
Yeah.
I can see these big houses, but I'm just kind of in the dark here. I think it would have been better if they had a guide or something out there in a boat to be like, hey, like, follow me around. We're going to go look out here and watch for this, or like do some kind of engagement with everyone on the water. I feel like would have made it better.
Yeah. I even think like if they would have like kind of like Crab Island in Destin, where like they have floating stages and like activities happening.
Yeah.
Like a floating bar would be great with music and lights and something for people to go to in the water, I think could be really, really powerful. And then also just like going with people. It was just the two of us. So it was this one kayak with both of us in it.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been fun with like a group of people, several couples, and some music or something, and just kind of going and, you know, being prepared to like create your own fun. I just thought it would be entertaining enough on its own, and it wasn't necessarily entertaining enough on its own.
Yeah, I think when you think of like glass bottom kayaks and the lights, I think I was expecting to like see more fish or see more like stuff lit up under us, and that wasn't really the case. So there could have been something a little more, but it was a fun experience. Like, I had never kayaked at night on the ocean or been on the ocean in any kind of boat other than like a huge cruise ship at all. So like, that was fun. Yeah.
There's some great restaurants too. There was a lot of activity. Over the course of a week, you could pretty much cover your ground really well in Pensacola Beach. Yeah. Because it is just a little island.
Yeah, I feel like a week was the right amount of time, and you kind of got to see everything. We went to several really good places. Redfish, Bluefish was good food, more fresh food.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Yeah, I think a lot of beachy places have a lot of like fried options, and I definitely go in for the fried stuff. But once you've had it once or twice, your body kind of starts telling you like, let's mix in something fresh here. And they had those good options.
And they were dog friendly. They faced the bay. Right. So you could like kind of, you saw, and there was a beach nearby, a bay on the bay, and some other restaurants. So you could kind of see all that activity happening. We actually went there twice because the food was, you could get healthier versions of seafood there. Yeah. And for my stomach, like at some point on a beach vacation, I'm like, I can no longer have your fried shrimp or your fried fish. Like I need healthy food. So that was nice.
Yeah, it was good. Flounders is a really popular spot there. Really good seafood.
One of my favorites, maybe.
Yeah, and the like, it's crazy, but the key lime pie at Flounders
that's right.
was incredible, because it's essentially 3 pieces of key lime pie, which are really, really good key lime pie in and of itself. But 3 pieces like stacked on top of each other is how they serve it. And it's really good. Yeah. Really good. So do yourself a favor and save some room for the key lime pie at Flounders, because it was really good.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, like I would go to Flounders at the beginning of the week, get your piece of key lime pie and eat on it all week, because it's literally 3 pieces of pie.
Yeah.
You can share with somebody.
And if you get it to go, they don't stack it up. They serve it side by side, so it comes like 3 pieces.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So I literally had it like over and over again, because we got it to go, and I just kept it in the fridge and had a little bit every day for the whole time we were there almost. Yeah. But really good. Their sister restaurant, Crabs on the Beach, was another cool spot. Yeah. Great atmosphere, red tables and umbrellas. I think they had a sushi bar there.
Yeah, they had a sushi bar. It had its own look, so it kind of stood out from some of the others. A lot of places, they look like rundown shacks,
Right.
intentionally,
Right.
for that like beach vibe. But this was one that was like red. And so you had like red restaurant, red umbrellas, red tables, and a lot of outdoor activities. It was actually on the beach facing the ocean.
Facing the ocean, yeah.
So it was a little, it was great views.
Yeah, really, really pretty. We also went to the Grand Marlin and had like a nice dinner. Mm-hmm. We dressed up and went out there. It was really good. It's pricier.
Yeah.
But like really good food, good service.
More upscale. Probably has a dress code.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember us getting dressed up for it. So yeah, make reservations kind of a place, like nice bottle of wine sort of place. But it was really good. We stopped and grabbed pizza from Papa's Pizza. Like our first night there, we've been driving all day. And I think I dropped you off at the condo and we were like, we just need something to eat. And I went and picked up pizza and it was great. Really good pizza.
Yeah. We also went to Peg Leg Pete's, which I love saying that.
Yeah.
Peg Leg Pete's. It's very like, what do you call it? Pirate-ish.
Yeah.
But it's kind of divey, but a lot of fun and has very much the beach scene. It's also like kind of on the bay side with like all these boating docks. So it's kind of more marina.
Yes. Yeah.
Style.
So it had a couple of levels. There's like a parking lot that you access from the road and like the restaurant, like a main level restaurant, but then you can go downstairs to where they like have the dock on the bay side and there's a bar like restaurant area down there that is just people hanging out on a dock. And it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, it was a great spot.
Yeah. We talked to the bartender there for a while, and I bring that up because we did meet a lot of different people in Pensacola Beach. We talked to the manager at Redfish Bluefish for a while. There was a real estate agent and her husband that we met at Glow Paddle, and then we talked to Steve from our boat rental place for a while. And I say all that just to say that, like, through the course of these conversations, we started to hear how none of them were actually from Pensacola. They were all transplants. And it all visited at one point and said, I really want to live here. I need to slow down life. Life is short. I want to come live here, and I'm just going to make a way.
Yeah, they figured out a way to make it happen, which was really cool. And honestly, it started us thinking down those lines of what do we want our life to be like, and what would happen with all the changes that COVID had brought on, and working from home, things like that, and working virtually becoming more and more of an option. We were already pursuing like virtual job opportunities, and we were like, what if we were both fully virtual? Where would we go? Where would we live? What would we do?
Yeah. It's interesting too, because I don't think we've ever really said this, but you and I are both in the healthcare industry. I'm on the health insurance side. You're kind of on the pharmaceutical side, pharmaceutical insurance, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so we have like very corporate jobs. When COVID happened, our corporations really temporarily shut doors to the offices and had everyone work from home.
Right.
So we were both full-time working from home at that point. I would occasionally go into the office because we do some things in audio and video type of things that require us to physically be there. But for the most part, working from home, and it really got us to thinking, well, I mean, if we could work from home and we could work anywhere virtually, where would we live? What would we do?
Yeah. I think that like that thought and conversation took us to a place of like, well, wouldn't it be cool if we did find new jobs and were to transition to new jobs, it would be really cool if we could sync those up and take time off in between.
Yeah.
And take a longer vacation, a more stress-free vacation. And we're like, well, what if that could be like 2 or 3 weeks? And then we're like, well, what if it could be a month? And then we started having a real conversation about what if it's longer than a month? What if we took a year?
Yeah. Because we really started thinking, like, this doesn't happen often. Like, how often are both spouses willing to start their careers over in a way, or, start
Yeah.
new jobs at the same time, take that risk together. And we were kind of in that place. And I'll never forget sitting on the balcony of our beach condo there in Pensacola Beach and talking with you about it, and you kind of asking, like, what would happen? Do you think we could really do that? Would you do that? Would you take a gap year with me? Just take a whole year off work, and we'll find new jobs. We'll figure it out when we're done. And me kind of realizing, like, oh my gosh, he's serious. He might really do this. It was almost like a kind of dream that I wouldn't even put out into the atmosphere because I never dreamed it could happen. And then to hear you say that was just like, oh, I married the right person. And we just started, like, doing the math. We had sold our home within the past year or so.
Yeah.
And so that was something that would hold some people back. It probably would have held us back. It would have felt bigger. But we had already sold our home, So that was done. We still had some savings from that. And then we saved a lot of money during COVID. We were a year into COVID at this point, that we're sitting there in Pensacola Beach, and we'd been saving a lot of money and just being really frugal, and really started to minimize eating out and things like that. I think at the beginning of 2021, we had started saying we're just going to eat at home more. That's our new goal.
Right.
We're going to eat at home more, and then at a certain point, we're going to start eating healthier at home, and just kind of, start getting healthier and healthier, which is always people's goal. But it really worked out, and we'll tell you guys a little bit about that in the next episode. But we were both looking to change jobs. The lease was up.
Yeah, our lease was up on our apartment. And when we really started talking about it, it just started to make a lot of sense of, like, when else would we have an opportunity like this to actually take a year off? And which was a crazy thought for us, because we both have worked our whole lives, have not, people know if you listened, like, you took a month to travel with your sister, which we have a whole season about, the secret season. But aside from that, like, you've always worked or been in school. I've always worked. I've never gone more than a weekend between jobs. And so it really was a crazy thought that we would not work full time, that we would take a year to travel and do all the things that we want to do for us.
Yeah, we'd both been working since before we could drive. You more hardcore than me. You'd been working a lot growing up. I had been working, like, I'd go to high school, and then in the evenings I would work. But I would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Like, I would work every single night. So, like, so it was a big deal. And we didn't grow up rich, so the emphasis on, like, having money, like, is surprisingly big when you don't have it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of emphasis on, like, stability and, like, just making sure that you've got, you're secure, you're financially stable, and it just builds and builds and builds. And so this was, like, a big thought, the idea of quitting our jobs.
Well, and then we spent the next few days, which really shows you what travel can do. Because I think if we had not taken this trip, if we'd not been in Pensacola with days where we didn't really have an agenda other than to be together and sit on the beach and do that stuff, this would have been probably not even a conversation at all. If it would have been anything, it would have been a dinner conversation that would have been man, wouldn't it be cool to like do something like this? And then it would have just been lost.
Yeah.
But we had the time, we had that space, we had traveled and made time to travel and given ourselves that separation from normal life and that space to have a conversation of what if we took a year off to travel.
Yeah.
Which is where our gap year, which is what we decided to start calling it. Like, gap year is traditionally something that students do, in between like college
High school and college,
yeah, or like right after college and getting a career or something like that. But for us, we're doing it now.
We're adulting and we're going to figure it out.
And really, it gave us the space to have this crazy idea and then do it, which is where it led to huge life changes for us in the way that we spend money, in the way that we treat our health, doing this podcast, just a bunch of stuff coming from this conversation, which is where we're going next.
Yeah, so that kind of leads us to the next episode, which is really in the next season, which is the gap year season.
Yep.
Well, actually several seasons. And
yes,
there's so much to say about this. You guys, we can't even fit it into this podcast episode. So we're going to do a whole nother episode just kind of overviewing what gap year is going to look like. We literally will start that season next week. And so you'll hear us talk about gap year, all the things it took for us to get to this point where we could do it. And we bought an Airstream. We renovated it. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about how we got in shape. And how we budgeted for a year off and a year of travel.
Yeah. Which are, big life changes. Especially the getting healthy part. We've both lost. You guys are going to go online. You're going to see social media about this Pensacola Beach trip. And you're going to see that we might not have been the healthiest versions of ourselves.
Right.
And you should tune into this next episode and stay on social media with us so you can see how we each lost 40 pounds, more than 40 pounds.
Yeah, we both lost over 40 pounds. And leading
up to this moment to make us... just make us healthier so that we can make the most of every moment and hopefully elongate our lives,
Right.
Too. So, this is big stuff. Big stuff. We can't wait to share all the details in the next episode, you guys.
We're
so
clearly
excited.
really excited. Definitely want to share it with you on the next episode. And we want to know, what big ideas have you had while you're on vacation?
Yeah.
We took this trip to Pensacola and we took it just as a vacation to get away, and it ended up changing our lives. So what big ideas have you had while you travel?
Yeah.
When you get time away, what do you think about? When you get time to create a new future for yourselves, what's that look like? So share it with us, reach out to us. You can find us on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Yeah.
And that's also where we will be posting those photos of us on this trip. There aren't as many photos. I'm being serious. We were not very healthy versions of ourselves. And there aren't as many photos of us because of that.
Yeah.
Which is so
I think
fascinating.
we didn't like the way that we looked in pictures.
We didn't like the way that we looked. But we're going to post some, and we're not going to hesitate to post some that might be bad.
Yeah.
And you're going to see, you're going to see some of that. But we've also got photos with Maggie Moodle the Goldendoodle. So you can learn more about us too at our website, which is travelfomopodcast.com.
And don't forget, if you will, go do us a big favor and rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening. Help us get the word out. Tell some friends about it. Share us on all those platforms, and we'd love that. Just to help us out on our journey.
Yeah,
Come with us for gap year.
Come with us to gap year and go do something big this week. Come up with a really big idea because life is short.
Wander well.